So this problem is from day 5 and we're going to go over it today. So the problem is sharing seashells. So Morgan likes to collect seashells, but he has so many of them that he decided to share 64 of them with others. He gave 1/2 of them to his friend Tyler. He gave 1/2 of what was left to his art teacher. He gave 1/4 of what he had left to his grandmother. He gave 1/4 of what was left to his aunt, and the remaining shells he gave to the little girl who lived next door. How many shells did he give the little girl next door? Show all of your math thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reread it and see what I need to take notes on. So Morgan likes to collect seashells, but he has so many of them that he decided to share 64 of them with others. So I'm going to write Morgan has 64 shells, and I'm going to write S and have that stand for shells. He gave 1/2 of them to his friend Tyler. And I know that he gave it to a lot of people, but that's what he did first. So I'm writing 1 to show that's what he did first. Gave 1/2 to Tyler. Then he gave 1/2 of what was left, so not of the original 64, but what was left, to his art teacher. So then next would be number 2, 1/2 to art teacher. And I'm just going to write AT for art teacher, because that way it's just saving me time and some space. I'm abbreviating art teacher. He gave 1/4 of what he had left to his grandmother. So then he gave 1/4 to grandmother, and I'm just going to write GM for grandmother. Then he gave 1/4 of what was again left to his aunt. 1/4 to his aunt, and I don't really need to abbreviate aunt since it's a shorter word. And the remaining shells he gave to the little girl who lived next door. So I'm going to write remaining shells, and I'm going to write S for shells, remaining shells to girl. Because I don't need to write the little girl that lived next door, because that's a lot of information that's not as important to this problem. My question is, how many shells did he give the little girl next door? So my question is, how many shells did he give to girl? And notice how I'm not writing really complete sentences, just taking quick notes of the important parts. So how I'm going to figure this out is I see that it's different steps that he took. So I'm going to make a table to keep it organized of all the steps that he took. And how I'm going to organize this is who, Tyler, the art teacher, the grandmother, the aunt, or the little girl, the number of shells that they got, and now I'm going to have over here the work that I did to prove it. So I'm going to start first with Tyler, because that's the first person that Morgan gave shells to. And I know Morgan gave 1/2 of them to his friend Tyler. So I'm going to write 64 shells, and he gave 1/2. So what I'm going to do is make a fraction bar to show 1 or a whole that's separated into halves. How I can do that is I can see that I can deal out 64 into each part. What I kind of want to do is, instead of going and having to do it by ones and I could maybe lose count, I'm going to just count by tens. So 10, 10, 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and I can't keep going, but I know that I have 10, 20, 30 on this side, 10, 20, 30 on this side. Now I still have 4 left. So now I'm just going to deal that out by ones. So I'm at 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. So I see that I have 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 10, 20, 30, 31, 32 in each side. So if I was, basically what I just did is I did 64 divided by 2, because I made 2 groups, to figure out that 64 divided by 2 is equal to 32. So Tyler got 1/2 of the shells. So he got 32 shells. I'm gonna figure out, the next step is that he gave half of what was left to his art teacher. So now I need to know how much Morgan has left, which is the other 1/2. So right now Morgan has 32 shells left, and Tyler got the other half of 32. So my next step is my art teacher. So he starts with 32 shells, and he gave another half, or another half, to his art teacher. So I can show that by breaking it up into 2 groups, 1/2 and 1/2, or 32 divided by 2 groups. And I know that 32, and you could deal it out, but for sake of time, I would do 32 divided by 2, and I know that that's 16 in 1/2 and 16 in the other half. So 32 divided by 2 equals 16. So I know the art teacher gets 1/2, so she would get 16 shells. So now Tyler has 16 shells left. And my next step is that he gave 1/4 to his grandmother. I'd write grandmother, give 1/4 of what was left, so 16. He gave 1/4 of that to his grandmother. So I'm not going to split this up into 2 parts. I'm going to split it up into 4 parts because it's 1/4. So if I'm going to make something into fourths, I want to put a line down the middle, split this up to have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So now I'm going to deal this out to see 16 equally into 4 groups, so 16 divided by 4, and see what 1/4 of that is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I see that there's 4, 4, 4, and 4 in each group. So if he was to give 1/4 to his grandmother, she would only get this part, 1/4, because this is another 4th, this is 1/4, and this is 1/4. So this is the 1/4 that I would give to his grandmother. So she got 4 shells. So how much does Tyler have, or not Tyler, I'm sorry, excuse me. How much does Morgan have now? He gave 4 shells over here, so he still has 3/4 of his shells, or 4, 8, 12 shells left. So he gave 4 shells to his grandmother. Now he gave the other 1/4 of what he had left to his aunt. So his aunt, and I'm doing 12 because that's what he had left. He had 12 left. And I'm going to do the same thing and break it up into 4 parts. So 12 divided by 4 groups, or 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And he has 3, 3, 3, and 3 into each part. So 12 divided by 4 would be 3. And he gave 1/4 to his aunt. So 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. So he gave 3 shells to his aunt. And now we're trying to figure out the remaining shells he gave to the little girl. So my 5th step, I would say, girl. And I could do this one of 2 ways. I know that he started with 12, and then he took away 3 to give 3 to his aunt, so I know that I have 9 left. Or I can even just see how much I have left here. If he gave away 3 shells, but he still has 3/4 here that are left. So 3, 6, 9 shells left, because all of the rest that he had, the remaining shells, he gave to the little girl. So now my question is, how many shells did he give the little girl next door? I could write this in a sentence by saying Morgan gave 9 shells to the girl next door. And I figured that out by dividing it by 1/2, then what was left by another half, then by the 1/4 for his grandma, a 1/4 for his aunt of what was left, and then the rest of it went to the little girl.